So, starting off, we have life cover, which you can be equated to life cover for a person. It basically is the cover of the value of the animal that you would have if the horse were to die or have to be put to sleep for humane reasons. That is the amount of money that you'd be paid out. How you determine that value is there are a number of ways. The easiest way is if you've just purchased the horse. So if you've purchased a horse for 250,000 Rand, the life value of that horse at that stage would deem to be 250,000 Rand. If you think you got it at a real bargain and you decided you wanted to insure it for 400,000 Rand, we would then possibly ask for something like a justification of value, where you would say, it is jumping $1.40 m. The owners were in financial trouble. They needed to sell the horse urgently. That's why I only paid 250,000. And we would then most certainly look at allowing, an increase in the value of the horse. And then how it works in terms of a payout, when we have agreed a value of the horse in terms of its life cover, that is the amount that will be paid out. So there won't be any adjustment to that amount in terms of value at the time of, should there be a claim. Those values can increase as the training of a horse improves and the value of the horse increases. And then unlike...
I think you're assuming there that the training is adding value.
Well, and unlike household insurance, so household insurance, you're not allowed to be underinsured. So if you have household contents that are genuinely worth 3 million Rand, you decide you can really only afford to pay for 1 million Rand, you have a claim, you're then only essentially, I think, paid out a third. So you're paid out the proportion to which you're underinsured of your claim. It doesn't work like that in horse insurance. So if you have a horse, I think Pinky is worth 75 million trillion Rand. I can't really afford to insure that value. So I insure him for an amount that I think I could buy a reasonable horse, heaven forbid, were something to happen. So you're not obliged to insure your horse for its actual value. You are allowed to underinsure your horse. You're not allowed to overinsure it, but you're certainly allowed to underinsure it. Okay. So that was a very lengthy story just about life cover. The next cover that we'll chat about is loss of use insurance. So this is a cover that I think it's you love it or you hate it. It's cover that's not cheap. It's cover that there's not really often claimable. But when there is a genuine loss of use case, it's heartbreaking if you don't have loss of use insurance. What loss of use means is basically the horse is insured as a show jumper and cover per event. So in other words, if your horse has colic surgery this month, that colic surgery costs 85,000 Rand. In 2 months' time, the horse needs colic surgery again. You've got another 100,000 Rand available to you. And that's for that low.
When you mention per events, and this is something we'll cover later as well, I assume that this is pertinent to your product, but clients, they must check that this is the case with whoever they go with.
100%, yeah. So I don't really have full knowledge of the, competing products in the market. The knowledge that I have is specific to our products. Critical care, and it's a product I think that frustrates us and frustrates clients a lot of the time, because often I think people tend to think that any time the horse goes to hospital, it's critical care. So they tend to equate critical care cover to what we would consider a hospital plan cover for humans, but it's not that. Critical care cover means if your horse does not go to hospital immediately, it's probably going to die right now. So it doesn't mean that, something has happened. If I don't treat it in a week's time, it's possibly going to be really, really serious, and then the horse is probably going to die. That is not considered critical care. That's considered neglect, because you should have been taking care of the horse. So critical care is really, really that. So there are two things. The treatment has to take place in hospital, and the horse has to be in a critical situation right there and then. The day that you schedule a surgery, the day that you phone in advance and say, I want a splint surgery on my horse, we're booking him in for 3 days' time, that's absolutely not critical care. Those things are covered under other medical options, but not under critical care. And it's a sad thing for me often, because often people are under the misconception that all hospital treatment is covered. Realistically, for 300 Rand a month, that's 100,000 Rand cover, there would be no insurance company left if we were covering everything that happened in hospital.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the reality around critical care. And then, you know, what we do is we rely on the vets. So we're not vets. We know horses. Everyone that works at the company does know about horses. That's one of the very specific criteria around being part of the team. But we're not vets. And when it is a gray area where we're not sure, was it really a life-saving or life-threatening situation, we refer it to the vets, as well as having the vets that perform the surgery or the treatment having to fill in a report and say, you know, in their opinion, it was life-saving right at that time. We medical comprehensive, which is similar to a medical aid, but I'm loath to say medical aid because there is a big difference between medical aid and insurance. Insurance, the reasoning behind insurance is to put you back into the position that you were before the loss. Medical aid is, I've got cover, you know, for glasses. So I can look and say, right, I've got 5,000 Rand if I need to go and buy a pair of glasses. And therefore I know that if I go and get glasses, I will get paid out 5,000 Rand. I think often people get frustrated with us because they phone for authorization, which theoretically we can't give. So, you know, we can say that, yes, if your horse has colic surgery, more than likely it will be covered under life-saving surgery with critical care. But until we see a report after the fact and we see the extent of the loss, which is what, you know, it's referred to in insurance terms, we don't really know whether upfront it will be covered. So we can't give those guarantees really upfront. We can tell you what cover you have, but we can't really give guarantees. In terms of the medical saver comprehensive, you know, that covers, there's a small limit for lameness. Obviously, you know, in terms of, we'd love to give huge limits for lameness. Again, the same as if we covered everything under critical care, we probably wouldn't see out another 6 months. So that's just the reality. And then, you know, other things, sort of out of hospital emergencies are covered, treatment of things like colic at home, and a variety of other subdivisions under each category. And then over and above that, in each of those medical options, we do cover critical care as well, under the same criteria. So it's critical care for 100,000 Rand per event, and not per, and that doesn't come off your annual medical saver or medical comprehensive limit. So that sounds like a whole lot of confusing stuff, I'm sure.